And so it begins. Errol Spence Jr. has been aggressively calling out Terence Crawford now that he's collected all the belts on his side of the street. He even has some new merchandise, so you know it's real. That's what I'll talk about in this video.
And then I was like just throwing punches instead of just picking my shots. But I think, that was due to the long layoff, and I was, super excited to get back in the ring, and I was trying to push the pace more than I needed it to.
It looked like you got caught in the 6th round. Your mouthpiece went out. You turned away, and then you took a couple of shots. What happened there?
Well, I thought the ref had said stop, so I stopped, and then he still hit me with like 3 or 4 shots. So that's my fault. That was a rookie mistake on myself. You're supposed to protect yourself at all times, and I didn't do that at all.
Were you out on your feet for a moment or two there?
No, I wasn't out on my feet. I turned and looked at my mouthpiece, and then he hit me, and I was like, oh shit. But he just kept hitting me. I was like, oh damn. And then when I tried to put my hands up, he had stopped anyway because the ref had jumped in. So it was all right.
How is it that you have managed to become a better fighter through all of the adversity, through the car accident, through the eye? How is it that you've improved?
I believe in, you're gonna go through trials and tribulations. I went through a lot of trials. I got tested. And, I passed the test due to, just my upbringing. My mother, my father always, telling me not to quit, not to give up, and just believing in myself and my family, and not wanting to prove them wrong and know I could come back. So I was like, man, why would I just quit now and I can come back and I can still be at my best? I just got to train hard, stay focused, listen to my coach, and, just stay out the way.
What's next?
Oh, well, everybody know who I want next. I want Terence Crawford next.
Hey, man down, stop that cap. Errol Spence Jr. defeated YORDENIS Ugas. Shout out, I'm going to keep saying this. I told you guys this is potential card of the year. I think Jamel Charlo, he has a potential card of the year, and Gervonta Davis or Errol Spence. It'll probably be between one of those fights. Make sure you guys come in, subscribe to the channel. Now, Errol Spence, he defeated YORDENIS Ugas. Ugas, he's on the road to recovery. I made some videos about that, so you guys got to check some of the other content. But Errol Spence messed him up pretty good. Ugas, he's a warrior. He, did as good as he could for as long as he could, but still came up short to the big fish. Made a video about it so you can check more on that, but Ugas, he did it live, and this is his face. You see right now, the markings from the Errol Spence fight. So Errol Spence, definitely a guy who's very powerful. Now, regarding what you've seen in the title, Terence Bud Crawford, the $1 million question that Errol Spence answered after he beat Ugas, would he stay true to his word? Would he care to fight Terence Crawford? And I played the audio at the beginning so you guys heard it out the horse's mouth, out of Big Fish's mouth. He said, yeah, I want to fight Terence Crawford. Everybody knows that. Errol Spence posted limited edition t-shirts. He just posted this, right? And this is on his verified page. It says, in the words of Mystical, danger! Swim at your own risk. Fatal shark attacks, something are common in this area, I believe it says. What's on the front of the t-shirt? It says strap season. And it's a picture of a shark going down a hallway, and there's a series of doors. The first door is the red strap, or the IBF strap. This is the belt that Errol Spence first got to become a champion. He fought against Kell Brook in Sheffield, England. Crazy, good fight. 20,000 plus people were there. It was lit. Second unification was with Sean Porter. He came back, and did some things, Ocampo and Lamont Peterson fight. But his second fight against the champion was against Sean Porter. And then the third strap is YORDENIS Ugas, which just happened over the weekend. Now, Errol Spence, he actually notated this, and I got to make reference in my video. Errol Spence said something that was very accurate. He said, I'm on the road to undisputed because he doesn't have all the belts, but he has 3 of the 4 belts in the 4-belt division. I'm on the road to undisputed, right? And he says, ain't nobody doing it like me, basically. I'm just paraphrasing. Ain't nobody doing it like me because I took belts from champions. Sean Porter was a champion. Kell Brook was a champion. Yordenis Ugas had just beaten Pacquiao to solidify. Because keep in mind, Manny Pacquiao, I want to sub to my fight, yes. Do. Keep in mind, Pacquiao beat Keith Thurman, and then in the interim, the pandemic happened, and the WBA elevated after the Pacquiao-Thurman fight, even though Pacquiao won and was the champion, because keep in mind, that was like a consolidation fight, right? Because Keith Thurman had the WBC belt and he had the WBA super belt. He relinquished the WBC, and I know it's kind of confusing, but just follow along with me. Keith Thurman relinquished the WBC belt because he was very inactive at a point in time, and he was still he has a 1 belt champion, and that was the WBA super. Pacquiao beat Matisse, and he was the WBA regular. So Keith Thurman and Manny Pacquiao had to fight each other to solidify who was the true WBA champion. Pacquiao beat Keith Thurman, split decision. Pacquiao was a man, right? Then after that fight, that was in 2019, 2020, as you guys know, in March, there's a global pandemic. So Pacquiao, he's a Hall of Famer. He's a legend. He doesn't come cheap, right? Pause. And Manny Pacquiao, it was probably too hard to fight because when the pandemic first started, there were no crowds or anything like that. You couldn't have crowds at your fights and all that. So Pacquiao was just on the sidelines doing senatorial things, kicking it with his family, whatever. So the WBA stripped him based on inactivity and said he was a champion in recess. So during that process, Yordenis Ugas became elevated to the super champion. So some people felt that was wrong of the WBA, and there was some confusion because we know with the franchise title and moves like that, some people will consider the person who simply got elevated, they'll consider them not a real champion, even though old media is liars and they only do this with select fighters. Because Ryota Murata, who Gennady Golovkin had no guys, had Max just fought, he was elevated as well. But people don't talk about secondary belts unless it's certain fighters. Oftentimes it's black fighters or PBC fighters where they mention these things like, oh, Gervonta has a secondary belt, but that's a whole nother story. So anyway, needless to say, Ugas fought Pacquiao. They had to fight each other, and Ugas proved to be the better man, beating Pacquiao into retirement, right? Errol Spence I just showed you pictures, just beat Manny Pacquiao, or he just beat Ugas, who just beat Pacquiao, right? And now he's knocking on this is another, higher resolution of the image, right? Errol Spence, he's knocking on the door and it says TC. We know what that stands for. That TC stands for Terence Crawford, right? Just so you all could see. So he's basically knocking on the door and he got like a, pickaxe or something, and he's collected these skulls because 3 belts out of, he's like the Predator. Want some candy? He's collecting the skulls like a true predator. He knocked on these doors, busted these dudes up, and or beat them, dropped them, hurt them. Kell Brook got stopped. 2 of the 3 champions got stopped, mind you, that Errol Spence fought. And then now he's knocking on the last door to the belt, which is strap season, like he said all along. And I got to make future videos about it, but Errol Spence is truly a man of his word. Errol Spence said years ago what his intentions were, and boxing fans are so impatient, and some of them have ulterior motives to the point where that wasn't good enough. They didn't want to wait. They didn't want to believe in Errol Spence Jr. This is a great picture, by the way. They didn't want to believe in Errol Spence Jr. They just wanted to, have this Crawford versus Spence, drama and argument. But Errol Spence told you every step of the way what his intentions were. And truth be told, he stuck to it. So credit to him. You heard the clip at the beginning. He said, man down, Everybody know who I want to fight next. That's Terence Crawford. And then now he's coming out with merchandise, limited edition t-shirts, pushing that line. And, you know, the shirts calling out Terence Crawford. See, people couldn't wait, and then they were slinging Errol Spence's name through the mud, saying he was afraid and ducking, when in actuality, if I'm being real, it's Terence Crawford's teams. It's his team, Terence Crawford's team, that said things that ultimately didn't happen while Errol Spence was doing the heavy lifting. Errol Spence, I just went through his record just of champion. That doesn't include Ocampo, his mandatory, Lamont Peterson fights, in between fights like that, where Lamont Peterson he was, you know, an elite level person. Some people even think he beat Danny Garcia, win over Amir Khan, fought Victor Ortiz, etc. So he's a world-class person, right? And I'm just talking about the champion. That don't even include fights like that, right? So Errol Spence, he stuck to his guns, and now it looks like on his side, he's doing what he's always said he was going to do. And I have other future videos coming out where I'll explore that in detail, and I'll prove it without a shadow of doubt. See, the great thing about me in this boxing is I'm no spring chicken. I didn't just start covering boxing this year. So make sure you guys subscribe. I've been in it. I've covered several Errol Spence fights. I have several interviews with Errol Spence. I have interviews with Crawford, covered his fight, you know, different things like that. And ultimately, I was there, you know, so I remember these things in these moments. So come back, check back on the channel. I got a video that I'll be working on behind the scenes, proving everything I'm saying, where Errol Spence, he stayed true to what he was saying. You know, it was just the boxing fans, and they grew impatient and stuff. But, you know, hopefully we get the fight. It's undisputed. In the last 30 days, I looked at my YouTube analytics for the month of March. 50% of the people that watch my content on YouTube for free subscribe. The other 50% did not. Let me know what I could do to earn your subscription. This is what I do full time. Join the movement, join the community. What's in it for you? This is your non-stop shop for all your boxing, 24/7. All access. Your access is now granted. So I'll be watching intently to see what Terence Crawford has to say. And, you know, there's things we don't know about Crawford. He's a free agent now. He's suing his old promoter. He hasn't announced that he's with Daniel Kinahan. He hasn't stated if he's going to try to work with PBC. So I'll let Terence Crawford announce his next move. But all in all, great fight from Errol Spence. Errol Spence showed he's big fish. Everybody that I talked to, and I'm not talking about media people, I'm talking about people who went to the fight, they all said it was a terrific time and the atmosphere was undeniable, and they're so glad they went. So it goes to show you Errol Spence is a true Don and a true star. And I'm not going to front. I've always stated this on my channel. I'm a big lover of underdog stories. Errol Spence undefeated. He beating guys' eyes in and stuff, but he's still an underdog because of things outside of the ring, you know, that happened in his life. And we all know what those things are. So salute to them. Hopefully, you know, Terence Crawford comes to his senses and, you know, they can amicably work on the price point and get that fight done for the fans. But Errol Spence, again, doing what he said he was going to do, and he's been calling out Terence Crawford. We'll see what happens next. Stay tuned on the next episode of Dragon Ball Z. The future is now. The Hibernation 5s by Kenichi Bear. Hybrid gaming and lifestyle headphones. Out of the box, you can connect to any console or PC. Bluetooth ready, with a low latency USB adapter, color RGB, and extreme bass mode. The Hibernation 5s adjust to you. Whether you need a gaming, travel, gym, or lifestyle headphones, the Hibernations got you covered. The new Hibernation 5s, link in the description. Customize the way you hear the world. Welcome to the nation. Are you tired of your YouTube videos not getting any views? Well, consider TubeBuddy. I've used TubeBuddy for years to scale up my YouTube channel. Now we're sitting over 200,000 subscribers. TubeBuddy is a browser extension that offers a ton of built-in productivity and time-saving services to take your channel to the next level. Use my link in the description to get started with TubeBuddy and level up your channel faster. We working.